Hello guys, welcome back. In previous lecture we have seen how can we modify the code and push it into the GitHub, right? In this lecture, assume that developer 2 also want to work on the same code. Let's take the example. So this is available in the GitHub. So now developer 1 went and identified that in contact.html file there is no email ID. Now developer 2 want to update email ID in the contact list. For that he has to pull this code. He cannot directly update over here, right? Of course we can do, but that is not right way to do that one. For this he has to pull this code onto his system. He has to add his changes to the code and push it back so that it will be available to everyone. Anyway, we are going to take this code, I mean to say whatever code is available in the GitHub, that code we will take it as a deployable code. So all the changes must be updated with the GitHub account code. For that, I need to log into my developer2 system. From there, I can pull this code. As you know, we have created a Linux system on AWS Cloud for developer2 system. And I'm going to log into this system. To log into this system, I'm taking the public IP address of this system and go to mobile extern. This is mobile extern session SSH and IP address. Next, we need to load the key pair. We have given key pair as git key, right? This is the key pair and the default user for EC2 server, that is EC2 minus user. That's it. Let's connect to this system. And now I have logged into my system. Now I'm going to rename it as a developer2 system so that it is easy for us to recognize. I'm logging as a root. For that, we need to execute sudo su minus, which means that switch as a root. So to edit hostname, we need to edit /etc hostname file. Here, this is the name we have, but I don't want to this name. I want to developer. Okay, something like this I need. But after changing hostname, you need to reboot your system. Rather than doing that one, you can just do hostname developer2 system. Okay, this is for temporary, nothing but until reboot, it will show as a developer2 system. Okay, special character is not allowed, I think. Minus I am giving. Okay, it has been updated, and also in host file also I should update it because it doesn't take special character. Right, now let me switch once again as a root so that we can see the latest name. Okay, that's how you can do, or else we can do the source, nothing but exit. Okay, source doesn't work because we need to reboot. Anyway, I'm going to switch back as a root user again. So now you can see your hostname has been changed as a developer2. Now let me clear the screen and pwd. At this moment I am under root directory and there is no files over here. Now how can I clone this code? It is very simple. Git clone followed by our repository name, right? So you know the how to get the URL of repository, that is go to our repository and click over here, get the repository, and go back to our system and give the repository. That's it. Now I have cloned this repository into my local system and you can see vt git repo, and if I go inside to vt git repo, and here you can see contact.html, index.html and readme.html. Okay, so this is how we can clone code into another developer system. Now my purpose is I would like to update contact.html because developer 1 forgot to update or did some mistake in the contact.html. Maybe here we are adding few lines, but this is how the concept does work. We may not using code at this moment, but this is how concept does work. So I'm editing contact.html and will add h2 email contact at email.com. Okay, just I'm giving some random name. So h2, that's it. We have updated our code and let's save this file. Now if I see git status, you can see one file has been modified in our local system and that is also available in the working directory. We need to add this one to our staging area, and git commands are same even though you are running on Windows or Linux. So git add dot git status. Now it is in the staging area. Git commit -m added email to contact. Okay, So by looking at this commit ID, I can identify that what changes developer2 has done. Now if I check for git status, now you can see our local repository is ahead by one additional commit, whereas remote repository doesn't. And if I check git log, okay, you can see here this is the origin nothing but our remote repository. Our remote repository have commits only two, but my local system have one more additional commit. Okay, so that is the reason it is saying that our local system is forwarded by one additional commit. Now I would like to push these changes to my remote repository. Before pushing it, you can see author we have done it as a developer2, and this is the email ID. Now let's try to push these changes to remote repository and we'll see what happens. Git push origin master. Okay, you can see here it is asking for username where it didn't ask for username when I am pushing it from my Windows system. Why? Because in my Windows system my credentials are already stored. That is the reason it is not asking for credentials, whereas in my Linux system my credentials are not yet updated. That is the reason it is asking for credentials. Again, you may get one more doubt that while cloning the repository, it didn't ask for credentials, but while pushing our changes, it is asking for credentials. Why does it happen? Why? Because our GitHub is a public repository. Whenever it is a public repository, everybody can able to clone that one. But it doesn't mean that everybody can able to update my code, right? If somebody want to modify my code, they have to get my permission. Otherwise, they cannot able to modify it. If you want to use my code, yes, you can use and you can do whatever changes you want. In this case also, developer2 want to modify the code, he has modified it, but while he is pushing his code onto my repository, he should have my authentication, nothing but my credentials he should have. But giving my credentials to developer2 is not right way. But just think that for this moment, we need credentials to push our changes, so that I have given my credentials to developer2. But going forward, we don't use these credentials. Okay. So to proceed further, I am giving my credentials over here, that is ravd, and password also I am giving. So I have given my credentials, and these changes has been pushed into remote repository. And if I go and check it out in the remote repository, let me refresh it, and you can see here this time one more commit has been done, and that has came as a RT2. It means that somebody has created GitHub account with this email ID. That is the name it has propagated. Okay, anyway, if I check for the commits, you can see here 3 commits are there, and this commit just now it has been done and added email to contact list. And if I go to my code, I could able to see the latest commit. Okay, you can see here email contact@email.com. So this is how we can update the existing repository code as a another developer. And so for 2 developers are working on this code, that's the reason you can see the contributors are 2. In this file, 2 contributors are updated their code. So this is how we can pull the code and do modifications and push the changes. So this process continue to repeat until we get the expected output in our development process. That's all for this lecture, and see you in the next lecture.